Well, that's it. We are on air. And this is something completely improvised with Daniel from Malta, just in
Hello.
case everything works.
Yeah.
Wonder if you are hearing my audio, Daniel?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
I am not hearing anything. I must do some adjustments here. Sit tight.
Okay. When you talk, there should be something green at the left
You have a
or the
window
right.
behind you, by the way, and that means I can't see your face. I just see a bright light in the window.
Just a minute. Just a
But
minute.
I gotta get a
Better now?
an earphone here. Wait a second.
Is it better? Okay. E-twinning. Is it okay with the light? Oh, it seems that.
Well, let's see if we get connected here. I can just barely see the top of your head. Can you get my audio?
All right. Let me put it down.
Hey there.
Better like this. All right.
Yeah, sure.
The light I put on the lights, but our
Yeah,
sun is very strong, so
yeah, I
light
know.
seems to be too low.
Sure.
First of all, thank you for accepting uh, my question about the Google products, Google Classroom, etc.
Yeah, sure. By the way, Daniel, before we move on, there might be, just theoretically speaking, there might be someone else checking this thing out
No problem.
right now or afterwards.
Yeah.
Why don't you say a couple of words about your work and how come you're interested in Google Apps?
Okay. So obviously, as a teacher, I'm very interested in IT as regards enhancing our teaching. So I'm not an IT expert. I'm a teacher who's looking for IT to enhance his teaching.
Yeah, I
That's my
guess.
main objective.
Yeah, I guess that's a deal for me as well, really.
Yeah.
So,
Secondly, I've been interested in open source products because I believe that each school is different.
mhm.
And working with open source, one can customize or change or hack, it depends what kind of vocabulary you prefer, to suit your classroom, your school, your region situation. And I'm using Edmodo for already 2 years. And I wanted to try something different with Google, so that's why I asked you some help how to begin with, because I tried it online, but according to what I saw, maybe I'm wrong. First, it asks you to buy some space on the internet, and when it comes to school and you ask for payment, you have to double check. But is it true? So that's my problem because practically it's something which has a very low cost. But when it comes to cost to the school, you have to present papers, you have to justify. So I'm working with open source. Uh, I try to minimize the problems with the school administration. Now, it sounds maybe silly, but presenting a bill to your headmaster or director or whatever who he is, it will add more to your problems.
That's a fact.
I'm the kind of teacher who's always experimenting, so now I have enough experience with my Maltese compatriots that they are already bearing with the situation. They are afraid of change, so every year I bring out a new change, so they look at me, uh, you know, with suspicion. You're going to change again? But I want to have in my school, I'm not tied to any company, and I try as many products as possible. And obviously, you can't avoid Google. The main advantage is that with most of the smartphones, um, it's compatible, it's easy to use, and you have lots of products. And I know that when you preach about IT, at least in my situation, most teachers will be very skeptic and suspicious and not so inclined to change. But once they see it on their mobile phone, and this is the advantage of Google, you have half of the battle won. I speak about battles because it's really a battle to make changes in education. So I think it's the appropriate word to use. Anyway, so how to begin with the Google products? Let's stick to our subject today.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I know you've been doing lots of work with open source software, and that's really not my area of expertise in any way. So yeah, sure. Let's stick to Google Apps for Education here. Yeah, the main offering for schools from Google, and by the way, for universities as well, and it's being used in many universities, in many countries around the globe these days. Google Apps for Education. So free to use, and it takes some getting started. There is no way for at least the way I see it, for any teacher who doesn't have a very solid background in information technology to do this thing, and definitely not if you don't have any time for it. You know, if you're working long hours anyway, so I can't understand where you get the time for this thing. I sure didn't have that time. I just took it basically and used all too much of my own free time as well, since I just couldn't cope with the lousy information flow we had here. So that was my main motivation, and get the school assignments workflow functional with the students. That was my main motivation. So I invested heavily of my own time into that, and that's nothing I can recommend to anyone, really. But yeah, Google Apps for Education, it's a bunch of web-based services that you can access directly through the internet if you get this implementation thing done. And I think whatever way you play it, even if you are, say, some kind of a IT pro, it will take you, I think, some weeks at least to get everything ready to roll, because there are things during the implementation phase that just take time, and to my best knowledge, there is no way of trying to, you know, make those things happen faster. There are things connected to the way internet functions, quite simply, that take time. And there are things in the Google end as well that take a bit of time until everything is accepted and checked and set. And you can't do anything with Google Apps for Education before everything is set. So I'd say that in most cases, and I checked with some colleagues who know this thing better than I do, whatever or however you play it, even if you are doing this full time, if you can cope with that, the implementation quicker than say in 1 month, then it's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I'm used to that with open source. Most probably, I'm going to the phase of compiling the programs myself, so I know the time that you take. In fact, even today for us, it's a national holiday, but it's no problem for me to work more and working through holidays. But obviously, sometimes, although you spend so much time, you feel that you are going in a circle. You're not solving problems. So I said it's better to talk with somebody.
Yeah, and as I said to you earlier, there's really no way I can talk you through this in half an hour or so, but I can perhaps point to a couple of things that are important while you're doing
I already use most of the Google programs. For example, the thing that you have for Office, you know, all the 4 programs, I use them already. So
yeah, like Drive.
Yeah, Drive as well.
Sure, but that's an important thing as well. That implementing Google Apps means also that you start from scratch with all those products in the school environment, and there is no connection to the private accounts you and the teachers who are joining or the students might have. their private accounts, they have nothing to do with Google Apps for Education.
Okay.
So you get you start afresh, a new start all the way, and that's something that really messes things up for me and my colleagues and my students sometimes, because many of us, most of us, have private Google accounts as well, and in the daily work here with the students, they just mess things up. Like I said, you always got to be sure that you have logged out. You are logged out from your private accounts, and that you are logged into the work accounts. That's it.
Yeah.
But you were talking about the domain and buying a domain. Should I say something about that?
Yeah, please, yes.
Well, it's one of the things you got to have in order to be able to implement Google Apps for Education. You do need to get a domain of your own for the Google Apps for Education implementation. And when it's done, then everything you do will be done within that domain.
All right.
And
I was right then, because I thought maybe I went to the wrong website.
You can, when you follow the instructions on the web, and you can actually, you find the instructions just by Googling Google Apps for Education. I'm pretty sure that you've done just that. In the instructions, well, it's like you go through them step by step. And the way I think the instructions are pretty good and very detailed.
Yeah, that
but
was
at least when I did this thing here in my school, I really had to go back and forth quite a bit. And one of the early steps is this domain thing. And you can get your domain through Google and stick to the instructions all the way by doing that. I choose not to. I bought the domain externally just because I preferred doing that. And I'm not even sure if Google, if it was possible for me to get a .se domain through Google that time. I wasn't sure of that. And I had the connections, since way back in Sweden, where I had bought domains earlier. So it was natural for me to do that externally. But it's not a requirement that you do it externally. You can stick to the Google set of instructions all the way, and by doing that also get that domain started while you're at it within the instructions, so to speak.
Now, I was in the open source when I use to teach other people. I found it really easy to explain, easy for the readers, easy for me to explain, etc.
Well, it depends what you're doing, I guess.
On videos, and normally when I print instructions, I do them step by step.
Yeah, sure.
To make it easier, because in that case you won't have many questions, because obviously if you have questions, you have to dedicate so much time to answer your fellow teachers, So by doing a video and printing these steps one by one, I think most people would find it easier to start. And because for me now, maybe because I'm new to Google products, it could be my fault, I never found such instructions. I mean, bits and pieces here and there, and the reader has to sort of look at the big picture. I mean, connect all the dots. I don't know if
yeah,
clear enough.
I can see. I can check a couple of links for you later on.
Yeah, there's no rush. I mean,
that I feel is a good way to get started. But there are step-by-step instructions. Absolutely. The way Google structures things perhaps is a bit different from what you're used to from your earlier work, and that might be the reason you find it a bit messy. I don't know. But there are step-by-step instructions, absolutely.
All right, okay. Maybe you'll send them later on, no problem.
Sure, no problem.
Not in a hurry.
Yeah.
I thought this year I will use again the ad modem, then by next year, hopefully I will move on to Google.
Yeah.
Because
Hopefully I won't be moving anywhere else for quite a while.
yeah, anyway, on the internet you can move and you can change countries, but
Absolutely, but I mean, oh man, I
I
would
never found that a problem. I
if
mean,
it really works well, then I want to stick to it. And to me, at least, Google Apps for Education works just great, and for the students, that's the main thing. Yeah, I guess people have varying motivational forces why to get this thing started. Talking about Google Apps for Education, and for my
no,
part, like I said, it was the workflow. It was really,
yeah,
really lousy. We had a lousy workflow here. At least I had. So so that was, like I
I
said,
think
my main motivation.
it's in Europe that we are lacking behind the US, because in my situation I see too much emphasis in the classroom about printed notes, hard copies.
Oh yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, and instead of accepting new ideas,
Hmm.
they mark as if you are the wrong teacher, no?
Mm.
Uh, I had some, backstabbing from, colleagues who thought that I wasn't a good teacher because I don't give everything to students. I feel in my conscience that I have to explain really well, but sometimes on purpose I don't give information because they lack searching skills, for example, Googling, no?
Hmm. Hmm.
But they see you as if you're not providing enough information from that point of view, I mean, and it's not easy to convince your colleagues,
No, it's not.
let alone
It's
the
not
students.
always easy. I agree to that.
Because they think that I mean, teacher in our country is judged by how many paper he prints for his students, as if
Hmm.
we are in 1920s. I don't know in what.
Yeah, I know that your school system is very much different from what I'm used to, for sure. I remember, by the way, I have fond memories of visiting your home.
Ah, all my family sends their best regards
It
because I
was
told them.
tons of fun, really, and oh man, it's great. Thanks a lot for the hospitality. It was so much
And
fun.
if you come again, we will be
I would
glad.
love to. I would love to. It would be really great. Malta is a beautiful, beautiful island. Very special. Very special.
Anyway, I mean, as I continuously repeat, because of budget, because of money, I'm always in search of old computers, people throwing away companies' old computers, and because I use open source, I can use even last time I gave a new life to a laptop which was 20 years old.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
cannot fit Windows 7.
No way.
Okay, but with Linux, and you have, for example, Puppy Linux,
Hmm.
it works poof, like a
Yeah,
treat. I mean,
yeah.
no problem, and it boots up
Sure.
very fast. And so that's why I sort of went to the open source.
Hmm.
In the second hand, because it's open source, you can, obviously, this is course for the experts, you can twist or hack the program to
Yeah,
suit
sure,
your
sure.
school.
Modify them to your
Yeah,
own
yeah,
liking,
yeah.
more or less.
So if the IT department, anyway, it's because in Malta at least it's propaganda for Microsoft. So
Yeah,
it's
right.
still a long way to accept the Chromebooks. Can you imagine my situation? Let
Mm.
alone if I say Linux books, they think that I'm from another planet.
Yeah, we use in actually in my school district, everyone has Windows PCs these days,
Yeah.
and I can't do anything about that either. I mean, actually, I don't care what kind of laptops are available as long as they do the job. And well, for the money available, I guess they do the job. But it sure is not easy
No,
for the
but
Google Apps
yeah,
administrator, which is me in this case,
yeah,
because there are so many things that can go wrong and do go wrong when
yeah,
students
obviously.
have their own computers. I mean, it's great that they, of course, they need to learn how to take care of them and all that. But oh boy, sometimes it's just tough.
Yeah.
They get so many viruses and malware in their computers
That's the
so
problem of
easily.
Windows.
Even
That's it.
even even when they have the best intentions, but they don't know better, and many of us old folks don't know better either. And those machines, they just
No, the
get
problem is
filled with this garbage so easily. It's incredible.
the problem I had is when they do presentations, they give you the USB stick. on your computer. Now, because I don't use Windows, I never had this problem, but other people who use Windows, they had to format everything. And obviously, most of the teachers, they don't copy on an extra hard disk. So most probably they lose years of work, which is tragic, but you know. But the problem as a teacher is, for example, when I'm doing a writing exercise, I use a mapping program. And I hate it that the student maybe wants to download it at home. And obviously, people using Windows software, you either have to buy the program or else do an illegal copy, which I never do as a teacher.
Yeah, right.
But with the open source, I tell him, listen, this is the program, you go there, you download it, it's no problem with the legal system, you can download it many times as much as you want to, you can format your hard disk, you can install it again. So, because I'm aware that as teachers, we are modders. Now, even from the IT point of view, so all the programs that I use, I wanted to make it possible to any student to download it. Now, actually, I have that blog, which I'm doing for free and open source software for teachers. I'm trying, it's not always possible, to present programs which could be downloaded on their mobile to make it easier for them, if they want to continue after the lesson too. Because I always believe the lesson, let's imagine, is the best lesson, which is, it never is. But anyway, it's not enough for the student. So for those few who want to go beyond, because the majority are fed up with the lesson and that's it. But for those few who want to go beyond, they can go at home, they download the program and they can continue. In fact, that's why I use the Edmodo. I give them the links, I give them the screenshot of my whiteboard at school so they can continue the lesson at home.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's great. And of course, that's one of the many advantages with Google Apps for Education as well. You can work anywhere, and you can work collaboratively anywhere, which is definitely
Fantastic,
really neat. Yeah. And the latest add-on to Google Apps, latest module, if you like, in Google Apps, called Classroom, does a really great job when working with school assignments. It's focusing on the workflow, on the school assignments workflow, and that is really neat. That's what we're using all the time these days.
Yeah. And obviously, with the Google products, you don't have any problem with the mobile phones to connect and to continue your work, etc., etc. So that's
no, it's definitely an important part of the whole thing. There are apps available for pretty much everything, and this Classroom module has an app of its own where both teachers and students can see all their courses and get a bird eye view of what's going on. So super good way I see it.
Yeah.
By the way, I was just checking here. I just Googled getting started with Google Apps for Education, and you really get the basic info there. Let's see if I punch it in here. I might try a screen share even here. It's like high tech for me. Lots of simultaneous capacity needed running Hangouts, and I always find that, man, I can cope with that. Let's see if I can do this.
See you.
Well, yeah, this is the link at least. I could just grab it.
Okay, but there's no rush.
I could, yeah, but I can just. What I did, I just Googled getting started with Google Apps for Education, and I can use this internal chat in Hangouts. Have you noticed that if you hover your mouse pointer on the left side of the Hangouts on Air window, on top there is this chat.
Yeah. No, I use them. The Hangouts, I use them with some of the friends. In fact,
and I just entered. This is the internal chat within the Hangout only. It's not external at all. It's within the Hangout. So if you can hit the,
I received it. Yes,
do you see the link there?
Yes, get started with Google Apps for education. Yes.
Yeah, it's from the Google support pages, and that's really where you go first, I think.
Yeah.
Did you see the link?
Yeah. I clicked on it and I'm there,
Yeah,
getting started.
and that should get you started, really, you know.
Yeah. All right.
But there are a couple of things that are like crucial there. One of them is this domain thing, and like I said, of course you can get the domain in advance. It can be the first thing you do before you even check the instructions there. Buy a domain.
That's what I met, in fact, when I searched on my own.
Yeah, and then get started, and when they get into this into the part of instructions where they're talking about the domain and getting the domain, you can just move on basically since you already got it.
Yeah.
That's
So
one way of doing it.
you'll get another email address now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, everyone working within this or your Google Apps for Education, whatever you call it, when it's done, everyone is working within the domain you have decided to use, and of course, the username that equals the email address.
Yeah.
So I have like nilo.a@tunalylea.sc. That's my user and my email within the Google Apps we're using.
I think I can use the name of my school because I can promise you nobody's going to use the Google products for sure. They're all happy with their heavy stack of paper now.
Yeah.
Carrying them and they impress, because I'm always carrying everything in my laptop.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I don't, on my desk it's very clean and I see all the others. Now
Yeah.
lots of paper. They sort
For some strange reason, my desk is rarely clean.
Yeah.
but I do want to have everything in the preferably through email or in my calendar digitally. Otherwise, I'm in big trouble. I don't know where all the paperwork comes from, actually.
Yeah.
Perhaps I should be better organized anyway, but I do like the digital workflow. I mean,
but even as a teacher, if I want a particular lesson, because on the computer they are listed alphabetically, in a split of a second you get it.
Sure.
When I used to have all those files, it used to take me at least 1 hour to find the appropriate chapter, not the appropriate lesson, the chapter. Then you have the chapter to, go over it, so it saves you lots of time.
Yeah, right. And then there's, by the way, another thing that's kind of important when implementing Google Apps for Education, and that's the fact that you have to verify that you are a non-profit school. In your case,
yeah,
could be a non-profit, whatever. I mean, if it's within education.
Yeah, but you have to give the name of the school for sure, because I was going.
Absolutely, and the name of the principal and all that.
Yeah.
So they got to be on board somehow. Because it's
no problem with that.
Yeah, it's the
most
school leader. That's school leader who's basically responsible for the whole thing, you might say.
Yeah, I can be the school leader because nobody's going to take that job for sure.
That's good.
I don't want to take more of your time. Thank you very much. We'll keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely, and just keep firing those questions, whatever you got. So I do my best. I'll be happy to answer. And heaven's sake, why don't we have a workshop in Malta somehow? I'd love to come.
If they listen, I would
tell me and I'll come.
Free, for sure. I would invite you for free. I mean, everything is paid for you, but I'm just a simple teacher, so
so am I. But I hope to get a chance to meet you again there on your home turf, because like I said, it's a beautiful country, beautiful island.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will show you some of the programs that I use, and in fact, if you follow my blog, I'm trying to give programs which are compatible with Windows, Mac, Linux, and if possible, the Android.
Hey, that's cool. Where do people find you on the internet then? Where do they find your blog?
Just a sec. I don't know it by heart. Sorry, but if I write an email,
you must have a quick URL. How can we otherwise tell it to all the thousands of people who are listening to this thing, or watching?
It's educated.
By the way, Daniel, do you have wireless net in your school these days? How is it working?
Yes, we have it as well. Yes.
Okay, good. That's excellent. I mean, that's something you really need to have, even though many of the Google products work offline these days as well, and that's really great.
Just a minute.
Perhaps it's just a matter of Googling your name, Daniel.
Yeah, no, it's here. Okay, I got it. Your email.
Daniel
Anyway,
P. Bartolo, Malta. Then it pops up, huh?
yeah, I think so. Blog. Let me send it straight away. On the email, it's like a footnote. I'm going to send you now. You should receive it.
All right. I should actually figure out, there are ways of displaying things like on the Hangout screen. That's kind of cool, but I've never got into that too much, and I guess I should.
But actually, I leave it on the email, so whenever I send an
email, that is a long URL.
Yeah,
whoa,
it's a little bit long. I know.
Free and open source in education.blogspot.com.mt. I think that was it. Say that 3 times fast, Daniel.
Is it MT? I don't think so. That
it says MT, yeah. .com.mt. What is MT? Is that a provider?
I don't think so. It's MT. Is it because I'm sending it from Malta?
Yeah, it's Maltese domain
yes,
then.
Yes, it's MT. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Man, I would like to get that. Can't I?
They're always going to be there.
Yeah. Good.
What I write in the open source, it's a principle sort of that you share. People teach you, and then you try to teach somebody else. Just, you know, you receive for free, you give for free.
Yeah, sure. That's pretty neat.
The last one was, in fact, the free mind that I use for my writing exercises.
Okay. Like mind mapping?
Yeah. And in fact, the students download it the first time that they see it. Most of them, it's the first time. And I tell them, use it. That's why I use it in class, to stimulate the students to use it at home.
Yeah, that's
in their
pretty
own
neat.
computers, you know.
That's pretty neat. Do many of your students have their own computers, like private computers?
Yes, they have. But unfortunately, even when people buy a new one, even a mobile phone, the most popular question is, can you fix Facebook for me on this?
Yeah, sure. What about smartphones?
Yeah, they have lots of smart here in Malta.
From what age do the young people on Malta have a smartphone? What did you say?
I think even 7 years old, they have a smartphone.
What, 10, 11?
7 years old.
7, okay. All right.
In fact, the teachers, some of them are ashamed to take out their mobile phones in front of their students. Can I tell you more?
Yeah, sure. But it's the same thing here, the way, I guess. I don't even know how young they are when they get their first cell phone these days. I guess it's like awfully young, I suppose, many people. Even though they cost quite a bit, don't they?
Yeah, but it depends as well if you go for a brand or you go for, you know, specifications.
Yeah, sure.
Because you can buy an unknown sort of brand. It costs much less and you have the same functionality. So why bother go for the big names?
I mean, yeah, sure. So very few people buy any other kinds of phones except smartphones on Malta?
Yeah, practically everybody's with a smartphone.
Okay. I guess it's getting really, really common here as well. I don't think any young people, at least, they don't know any other phones than smartphones.
No, it's good for me because in the future we have to think. In the future, we should have thought about it already. We should plan our lessons to be incorporated with the mobile system.
Absolutely. That's for sure.
Afraid at the stage in Malta at the moment is they don't let them in the classroom because they mention lots of negative things, which I agree.
By the way, Daniel, I just came to think of one thing that might be of interest for you. In case you want to check out, for example, how this classroom